Let's talk about abortion. I want to bring something a little different to the table that you don't often hear in this discussion. As a biologist, I have a PhD in neurophysiology, and as a scientist who worked at the White House Science Office where we tackle difficult science issues, I want to bring biology to the table. The primary arguments that the anti-abortion movements use fall into two main categories. The first is the pious idea of the sanctity of life, and the second is that life begins at conception. Neither has any basis in biology at all. So let's talk about both. The idea that life is sacred is clearly absurd when we're killing trillions of pigs, chickens, cows. We have big game hunting. The idea of life, that life is sacred, just makes no sense. We eat plants. Plants are life. So the idea is absurd. I call bullshit. But so what maybe the anti-abortion movement means is that human life is sacred. Okay. Well, no, that's bullshit too. Because demographically, a lot of people, many people who support or who are in the anti-abortion movement support capital punishment. Killing in war is okay under certain conditions. Killing someone who enters your house to protect your family is okay. The idea that life is sacred is bullshit. It makes no sense. So let's look at the idea that life begins at conception. That truly makes no sense. Life is a continuum, and it makes no sense to arbitrarily decide at one point that life begins there. In fact, it would make more sense to think that life begins when gametes form, when eggs form, and when sperm form. Now, the anti-abortion movement believes that abortion is murder because they assign humanness to a fertilized egg. Well, using that very same logic, every time a woman ovulates but does not become pregnant, and every time a male masturbates, we are witnessing murder. Yes, of course, that's absurd. But it is equally absurd to think that destroying a fertilized egg is murder. I call bullshit. It makes no sense. So let's now talk about some biology. Biology brings to us some really important markers. No human fetus can survive outside the womb before 23 weeks. It is absurd to assign humanness to something that cannot live outside the womb. It makes no sense. So before 23 weeks, there should be no discussion about this. It is 100% the woman's choice. End of story. Biology dictates that before 23 weeks, we should not even be having this discussion. Between weeks 23 and 26, it's remotely possible that a fetus can survive. Between weeks 26 and 34, the lungs aren't even fully formed, but survival is possible. So before week 23, we need to stop including that time period in any discussion of abortion. It makes no sense. Let me reiterate that yes, a fertilized egg does have the potential to become human, but so does an egg and so does a sperm. We cannot assign humanness to any of those. It is silly. It's crazy. It has no basis in biology at all. It's bullshit.